Welcome to the World Cinema Recap. The film opens with John Rambo, a former U.S. Army Green Beret, being forced to work in a prison. One day, his former commanding officer Colonel Sam Troutman visits him and apologizes for bringing him to this hell, but Rambo seems unaffected and says he has seen worse. Sam offers him an opportunity to get out of prison and informs Rambo that the Vietnam War has finished, but there are concerns about American POWs in Vietnam. Rambo agrees without hesitation because he likes action when the U.S. government shortlists him for a covert mission. Following this, Rambo is transported to Thailand and temporarily reinstated in the U.S. Army. There he is introduced to an in charge for the operation named Marshal Murdoch, along with his associates Erickson and Leifer, who are the freelance military contractors. Marshal assigns Rambo a task to gather photographic evidence of a suspected prisoner of war camp. However, he specifically instructs him not to carry out any rescue attempts or engage enemy personnel due to the unstable situation between the USA and Vietnam. No, can't go, boss will kill them all if the rumors are confirmed. The prisoners of war will be rescued by an extraction team upon Rambo's return. Furthermore, Marshall tells him that his CIA informant named Cobal will receive him in the jungles of Vietnam before departing. Rambo tells Sam that he is not convinced with Marshall's mission plan. He agreed to do so only because he trusts the colonel. In the next scene, Rambo boards an aircraft towards the jungles of Vietnam. During his aerial descent, his parachute gets entangled with the airplane's door. Leifer tries to release the rope, but he fails to do so. Fortunately, Rambo uses his quick thinking and cuts himself free with his knife in the process, though he loses most of his equipment, leaving him with only his knives, bow, and arrows. He's back to level 1. He also lands far away from his landing spot. Despite this, he uses his knife-equipped compass to navigate his way to the designated meeting point. Shortly thereafter, Rambo spots a woman in the woods and quickly holds her at knife point, considering her as a potential threat. However, she soon recognizes him and introduces herself as his contact, and also quite possibly his love interest. Ko then leads him to a nearby river pirate base camp where she has booked a boat to take them upriver. Rambo tells Ko about his past and how he landed up on this mission, saying he was chosen because he is malleable, foreshadowing for another movie franchise. I'll be in. When Rambo asks Ko about her background, she says she took her father's place and has been serving the nation since his death. She also wants to go to America and live peacefully. Riley joins me after some time, and we arrive to a nearby camp under Vietnamese Captain Vin. Rambo tells Ko to keep hidden while he checks the camp, so he slowly navigates around it, hiding from the vigilant camp troops. He stumbles eventually. A Grim sees a group of prisoners of war in a dirty cage with the worst health conditions. Rambo finds Banks bound to a cross-shaped pole without instructions. Rambo frees him without hesitation and kills 3 guards stealthily with his bow and arrow. In the early morning, Ko and Banks flee before the camp guards are alerted. A patrol finds one of the dead bodies and promptly alerts the camp. Lieutenant Tay, Vin's second-in-command, gathers his troops and pursues the intruder in the woods. Rambo, Ko, and Banks sails away with the river pirates in their boat when they betray them as a Vietnamese Navy approaches, responding promptly. Rambo recovers his little knives from his pocket and kills a pirate in front of him, then seizes a shotgun off the fallen pirate and kills all the pirates on the boat, sends Ko and Banks to safety, then destroys the enemy gunboat with an RPG. After this heated battle, the trio move toward the rendezvous point. Before reaching the extraction area, Rambo requests Ko to stay behind while Colonel Sam arranges for the extraction mission. When the time comes, he heads out in a rescue chopper with Erickson and Leifer. Shortly after, they arrive at the meeting point to find Rambo and a prisoner of war being attacked by Vietnamese soldiers. The rescue team radios back to base to report that Rambo has found a prisoner despite the noose. Marshall orders the crew to abandon Rambo and Banks, who are then forced to surrender as Tay's squad advances. Back at the Thai base, an enraged Sam confronts Marshall, accusing the mission of being a deceptive ruse. Marshall admits that he never intended to save any prisoners of war because the Congress expected Rambo to find nothing there. Even if he did, Marshall would dispose of any photographic evidence, or leave Rambo to die. Sam suspects that the whole situation is about money because the U.S. refused to pay war reparations to Vietnam, and the Vietnamese apparently kept American POWs for money. In the next scene, Rambo is tied to an ox and yoke and lowered naked into a chest-deep cesspool infested with leeches. Vince briefly interrupts the torture. Soviet liaison officer Lieutenant Colonel Podovsky and his silent but strong henchman Sergeant Yashin Podovsky orders Vin to remove Rambo from the cesspool and clean him up for interrogation. The other prisoners of war in the cage expect things to become worse for him. Podovsky demands that Rambo deliver a message to the Thai base camp warning them against any further rescue attempts. When Rambo refuses, Yashin electrocutes him, but it doesn't work because Rambo remains uncooperative. They escalate the pressure they put on Banks and threaten him with eye gouging, unwilling to risk Banks's life. Rambo grudgingly agrees to Podovsky's requirement, while KO disguises herself as a prostitute and sneaks into the hut where Rambo is held. Rambo dials his secret radio code frequency to contact his base in Thailand, but instead of transmitting Podovsky's message, he swears vengeance against the marshal and strikes Yashin while KO opens fire, killing several guards in the hut. They subsequently fight their way out of the camp. KO tends to Rambo's injuries and asks him to take her with him. After Rambo agrees, they kiss romantically, but Vietnamese forces assault them soon after. In response to fury, Porco is shot and killed. Rambo violently kills all the opposing soldiers, cries, and then buries Ko's body in the woods, driven by fury and revenge. Rambo gathers his weapons and goes on a single mission to destroy the Vietnamese through guerrilla warfare. Like in the previous movie, and starts to take down the Soviet and Vietnamese soldiers sent after him. He then uses explosive arrows to soak up chaos among the enemy ranks, killing a significant number of opposing troops, including Captain Vin. He then deliberately leads the enemy forces to a nearby reed field, pours gasoline on it, and sets it on fire. Soon after, Yashin arrives in a helicopter gunship and drops a barrel bomb on Rambo's location, sensing approaching danger. Rambo runs as fast as he can and dives into the water, evading any harm. He soon vanished into the water while Yashin and his troops aimlessly opened fire in the vicinity. A few moments later, Rambo resurfaces right beneath the helicopter and manages to climb aboard. An intense struggle ensues between Rambo and Yashin as the helicopter ascends. For the first few moments, Yashin gains the upper hand and begins choking Rambo. However, after a while, Rambo uses his tactics and throws Yashin off the helicopter to his death. Witnessing this, the scared pilot jumps from the helicopter as well. After this, Rambo takes control of the helicopter and heads toward the camp where the POWs are held captive. He unleashes the helicopter's weaponry, causing chaos and extensive damage to the camp. Shortly after he lands, the aircraft retrieves AM-60 machine gun mounted on it and proceeds to kill the remaining Vietnamese soldiers. He then frees all the prisoners of war from their cages and leads them towards the helicopter. In the meantime, one of the enemy soldiers, who is pretending to be dead, slowly reaches for his rifle and fires on the POWs, injuring one of them. In retaliation, Rambo fires back, killing the soldier on the spot. With this, Rambo and the prisoners board the helicopter and make their way to Thailand base camp. The prisoners celebrate their victory, believing that they are finally rescued. However, their joy is short-lived, as they are chased by Lieutenant Colonel Podovsky in a Mi-24 helicopter gunship. The helicopter begins to fire towards Rambo's aircraft. Despite being able to dodge the first few attacks from the enemy, Rambo's helicopter soon gets hit, trailing smoke from its tail. As a result of this, Rambo comes up with an immediate plan and fakes a crash by landing on the river in an attempt to trick Lieutenant Colonel Podovsky. They all play dead. The plan works, and the colonel carelessly approaches the downed helicopter with a smile on his face. Moments later, Rambo grabs a rocket launcher and shoots down Podovsky's chopper, killing everyone inside it. So more call. After this intense war, Rambo and the prisoners of war return to the Thailand base camp. As they approach, Rambo calls the control room to prepare for an emergency landing because they're coming in hot. Marshall is startled by Rambo's voice and leaves the room without orders, but Colonel Sam directs the soldiers to make the appropriate arrangements. Rambo lands the plane successfully, and after securing the detainees, he grabs the Math at M60 machine gun and smashes inside the base, destroying Marshall's high-tech equipment and the mission control room. He then approaches Marshall's cabin and threatens him with a knife. In the last scene, Rambo requests that all American POWs in Vietnam be rescued. Rambo is about to leave when Colonel Sam approaches him. He tries to persuade him to return home because he is now a free man, but Rambo declines and leaves.